The sharp legal minds here at Bullock's Rules for Writing would like me to say that advanced placement is a registered trademark of the College Board and that the College Board has not approved, sanctioned, or in any way associated themselves with me personally or Bullock's Rules for Writing. I'm just a guy with a Martin guitar and a dream that made a theme song. Hey yo, episode 2 of our series on AP English Language and Composition. The AP English Language test is the most popular test the College Board gives. More high school juniors and seniors take that test than any other AP test. And it's also one of the longest, I think it is actually the longest exam that AP offers. You are in that exam room for nearly 4 hours. That is why this is episode 2 of this series. You need to be thinking about game day and how grueling it's going to be and how much stamina you are going to need and what strategies you can use while you're in there, because it is rough. Okay, some bare bones information. The AP English Language and Composition exam comes in 2 parts. The first is a 1-hour multiple choice section. There are about 55 questions on 4 or 5 passages from different eras in history. There will be some contemporary texts that are easy enough to understand, some 20th century texts, probably early 20th century texts that are a little weird, and there'll be something from the 19th century or before that'll be really kind of hard. Then there's a 2-hour and 15-minute writing section. There's a break in between the 2 sections. And in that 2 hours and 15 minutes, you have to write a synthesis essay, an analysis essay, and an argument essay. Now, the next 4 episodes, the last 4, the only 4 remaining episodes of this series, one each about those 4 different parts: multiple choice, synthesis, analysis, and argument, although not in that order because I don't teach them that way. But this particular episode is just about the mechanics of how you can survive and do well on exam day. Now, just real quick before I get into some of those tips and techniques, you might be wondering how the AP exam is scored. Well, as you probably know, AP reports out scores for exams on a 1 to 5 scale. 1 is, hey, you managed to get your name on your paper. Really good job. And 5 is actually about the level of a sophomore college composition student. A 4 or a 3 would be about the level of a freshman college composition student. Now, how do they get 1 to 5? There's complicated formulas and you can look them up. But here's what you need to know. You need to get half or more of the multiple choice questions right. So if there are 54 questions, you need to get at least 28, 29 of those correct in order to score a 3. And that is with scoring on the 9-point writing rubric, which I'll talk about when I get to the writing parts. The 9-point writing rubric, you need to be scoring 5s and 6s. 5 is kind of that level of you are a college freshman in a composition course. 6 is really you have passed that freshman level composition course. So if you can get half, slightly more than half of the multiple choice right, you can score 5s and 6s, you will get a 3 on this exam and you will get your college credit. So I actually have 6 rules for taking the AP exam. I'm going to go through them as quickly as I can, but you want to come back and revisit this episode several times between now and the exam so that you know what you're getting into. And rule number 1 is to wear your own watch. And it needs to be a watch like this, okay? You can't bring in your Fitbit, you can't bring in your Apple Watch or any other kind of smartwatch. You don't want a digital watch that's going to beep or distract other people, because that'll get you right out of there, of that testing situation. But you want to have your own watch. You cannot rely on just whatever the clock on the wall is, or making sure that the proctor gives you a 30-minute, 15-minute tip, whatever the warnings are. If you have your own watch, you can make sure that you are on track with the time. And the time is often a killer, particularly on the writing, There are so many students who come back to me after the exam saying, I didn't have time to write all 3 essays. I only got through the first 2, or I wrote the first 2 and I got barely a paragraph on the 3rd. You need to be looking at your own watch so that you can manage your time effectively. Rule number 2, dinner, sleep, breakfast. Seems like a little bit of a no-brainer, but here's the deal. Teenagers' bodies are weird. I mean, my body was weird when I was a teen. Well, my body is weird now, but we're not here to talk about me. You don't necessarily want to eat when the rest of your family wants to eat. You don't necessarily feel hungry in the morning. You don't want to go to bed at 10 o'clock or earlier. And that's because you are a teenager and your body is weird. But the AP exam doesn't make allowances for you to have a weird teenager body. You need to treat your body like a normal adult human body in the 12 to 15 hours leading up to the AP exam. That means have a good dinner. The food that you eat the night before the exam is the food that you're going to be digesting and processing and getting your energy from during the exam. Get a good night's sleep because you're in that room for 4 hours, and a lot of the test is going to seem boring to you or stupid or pointless, and if you're the least bit sleepy, you can't do that. And then finally, have a good breakfast, because if you have a good breakfast, your body is not going to be screaming 5 hours after you woke up, I need food. Okay, so you're not going to be distracted by the hungries. You also have to be kind of smart about what you eat. So that means no hot flamins, no Takis, no honey bun, cinnamon roll, any of that kind of stuff. You want to eat whole grains. You want to eat fruit. You probably even want to bring a banana with you into the exam. Don't hop yourself up on caffeine because you'll just be jittery and you won't be able to concentrate. Now, if you're a caffeine addict, hi, my name is Bullock. I'm addicted to caffeine. You will want to have a little bit so you don't give yourself a headache, leaving you unable to concentrate. If you're afraid though that you're going to fall asleep when you're in there on the exam, you do things like jiggle your legs, curl your toes, do some things to keep yourself awake. But don't overstimulate yourself with caffeine, okay? Eat a good dinner, get a good night's sleep, eat a good breakfast. Rule number 3, you are a freaking superhero. I mean, okay, obviously not really, but science says the more confident you are when you walk into the exam room, the better you are going to do. So don't walk in there going, I hate this, I'm gonna fail, oh, it's so awful, it's so terrible. Don't do that. Walk in like you are freaking Wonder Woman or freaking Superman. You are a freaking superhero. You got this. Take a moment whenever you need to during the exam. Put your spine up straight. Do your arms out to the side like Superman and just like feel that superhero pose. And whatever you do, don't start beating yourself up if you think you don't know an answer. In fact, you should be smiling whether you think you know the right answer or not. Just the very act of smiling is going to improve your attitude, which is going to improve your performance. So be a superhero. Rule number 4, use the break. Now, it would be great if the break actually came halfway between when the exam starts and when the exam ends, but no. The break is going to come 1/3, less than 1/3 of the way through the exam. So even though you may not have to, go pee, right? Go out into the hallway, do some sprints, get the blood flowing back in your body. Scarf down a banana or granola bar, drink some water. Make sure that you are awake and ready to go for the grueling writing section, which comes after the break. Use that break. Rule number 5, build your stamina. Look, you have probably never written for 2 hours and 15 minutes straight before in your life. You are probably never going to do that again. I am a semi-professional writer. People have paid me money to put words down on a page or pixels on a screen. And I don't write for 2 hours and 15 minutes straight when I'm doing that. That's crazy talk. But that's what you have to do in this AP exam. So you need to build up that stamina. There are different ways to do it. You can practice with practice exams that are available online. You can go buy one of those expensive books and take the practice exams in there. Or, just like sit and write for an hour at a time about whatever. It doesn't matter what you're writing about. The point is that you need to build up stamina in your mind and in your arm so that you can write for 2 hours and 15 minutes when exam day rolls around. So start by writing 20 minutes a day in a diary or something, then build that up to 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes at a time. And then take a couple of times, set the timer for 2 hours and 15 minutes and just start writing. And again, it doesn't even have to be about anything in particular. You just need to sort of build up that mental and physical capacity to sit and move a pen across paper for that long at a stretch. And please, please, please practice writing in pen. You are only allowed to write in blue or black ink on the AP exam. You may love your mechanical pencil. You may love your shiny gel pen, whatever. Don't practice with that because you can't use that on exam day. Just buy yourself or borrow or steal from your teacher a bunch of cheap black and blue pens and practice writing with those because that's what you've got to use on exam day. And finally, rule number 6, divide your time. So you get an hour for the multiple choice. What you want to do is flip to the end of the book and look for whatever question number is the last question number, divide that by 2, find that, so if it's 55, go find question number 28, put a circle around it, put a mark next to it, because you need to be at question 28 when you are 30 minutes in to the 1 hour multiple choice time. You also need to divide your time on your writing. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes of writing time, but you've got to complete 3 essays in that time. And I'll talk about some specific timing things when we get to the specific essays later in the series. But you might want to make some notes. You will want to make notes in your test booklet. I need to be done with this essay at this time. I need to be done with this other essay at this time, and so on. You need to make sure that you leave time either at the end of each essay writing or 5 to 10 minutes at the very end to go back and reread what you have written and make some corrections, make some changes, go for the slightly better turn of phrase, make sure that you've got all your capital letters in the right places. And don't feel bad about scratching stuff out on those essays when you do that proofreading. In fact, the readers like to see scratch outs because it's evidence that your thinking is evolving and changing and you're putting some effort into writing what you write on purpose for those essays. Okay, that probably seems like a lot, and I don't blame you for thinking that. The AP exam, it's hard, and preparation shouldn't be a breeze. The exam shouldn't be a breeze. I mean, you can earn college credit, so think about however much the credit cost at your local state university and think about how, well, I might get 3 of those credits if I pass this exam. That's some value, Doing well on this exam, it should be something that you practice and prepare for. As I said, come back to this, at least write down these 6 rules, think about all these things that I've said many, many times before you walk in May. Don't just think that the night before you're going to play this video and you're going to be like, oh yeah, now I know everything. I'm super well. It doesn't work like that. You have to practice, you have to prepare, you have to be ready. I will see you for the next one. I am a semi-professional writer. I have been paid to put words down on a page, and I don't write for 3 hours and 15 minutes. No, frick.